Robert, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much indeed to Oil and Gas UK for the invitation to attend this event this morning. I'm delighted to be here to take part in this event. Over the past 2 years, I've had the honour of being the Energy Minister in the Scottish Government, and when I first got this job from the boss, a paradox occurred to me, that I was aware of the huge success of the oil and gas industry in Scotland, but the population at large did not appear to be so aware. In fact, the perception was, if anything, that the industry was not a sunrise industry with a great future ahead of it, but a sunset industry. And it seemed to me that in order to dispel that false impression, we needed to give a fresh impetus from a government point of view about our belief, our fervent belief in the success of the oil and gas industry in Scotland and the UK. And therefore, I determined that we should formulate a new strategy. And we did that, Melford Campbell and I, who chair the industry leadership group in oil and gas, by a period of meetings. I think I've met with 80 or 90 companies in Aberdeen and elsewhere, but principally Aberdeen, in the sector, and listening to what you had to say. So the resultant strategy, which was published in May last year, was really as much written by you as by us. And that's a good thing, because we want you to support it, so we thought it was more likely that you would support it if you wrote it. The keynote of the strategy is that there is a tremendous future for the industry. You will know the statistics. The industry supports, in Scotland, 200,000 jobs or thereabouts. I suspect that is growing. It supports 2,000 companies. In the UK, it supports around 440,000 jobs. The industry is active in 100 countries in the world. Everywhere where oil and gas is discovered, you will probably not be too far away in distance from an Aberdonian. And the oil and gas strategy highlights the importance of higher recovery rate, of maximising recovery. This will lead to enormous benefits financially, but enormous benefits for business as well. Because I've seen that in maximising recovery, many of the companies that are represented at this business breakfast here this morning are providing products and services that are world-beating. And indeed, many SMEs who succeed in the North Sea can then go on to succeed anywhere. The UK government has also recognised the strength and importance of this industry by launching their own strategy in March. So our strategy last May was followed by a sibling, the UK strategy, in March. Within the 9-month gestation period, I suppose a bit surprising, but nonetheless welcome. I'm not really a believer in coincidences. But, you know, it's a good thing, because the Scottish strategy and the UK strategy essentially have the same objectives. And as many of you may know, one of my aims in the way that I approach the job is to try and leave the party politics outside the door. So we now have 2 allied strategies in Scotland and the UK, each spelling out the importance of the industry, an industry which I believe contributes around 1/4 of all corporation tax. For the oil and gas sector, at least, the payment of corporation tax is not optional. And therefore, the sector makes an enormous contribution to the economy. And I think, ladies and gentlemen, over the past 2 years, the common approach that has been developed between the 2 governments has helped shift that false perception that I began by talking about. And that's extremely important because, of course, how many young people want to go into a sector if they think there's only 10 years left of oil and gas off these shores? So, in other words, the creation of the correct perception that this industry has a great future, both off our shores in the UKCS and west of Shetland, but also worldwide, is a sine qua non of persuading young people and new people to come into the industry. An industry where we will see, for example, the BP Clare Ridge project expected to continue production to 2055. Who amongst us thinks that there will not be new discoveries, further discoveries, lengthier developments? There most certainly will. And therefore, the first point I wanted to make was we have now altered collectively together, industry and government and academia, the false perception that this was an industry whose time was up. That is not the case, but now I think increasingly more and more people in Scotland and south of the border realise that is the case. And that means now that we are in a far better position, I believe, to tackle the problem, which, as Robert said, in some respects is one of the main problems that we have to face collectively together, and that is the skills shortage. Now, of course, the skills shortage comes in many forms. It's a complex problem. There is no simple, far less single solution. The solutions will come from us working together. Robert said that I will give the government perspective. What I want, ladies and gentlemen, is that there be one perspective, not a series of different things being done, but all of us working together as a team. Excuse me, and that is why over the past 2 years I've worked with Oil and Gas UK, with APITO, with the Offshore Contractors Association, with DCOM North Sea, with Aberdeen University, Robert Gordon University, Banff and Buchan College, Aberdeen College, and with everybody involved in this challenge of working together to meet the problem. Because I know that there is an ingrained perception in the industry, and I think it's partially true, that there's too many players, too many bodies, too many quangos, too many acronyms, confused, difficult, challenging. That, I think, to be candid, is one of the perceptions that we must again shatter and show that we can, and we will work as one body. And that is why when we announced the government's contribution to tackling this issue, we did so only after extensive discussions with Oil and Gas UK, with APITO, with universities and colleges and others. And I can tell you that that was not a formal process. It was one which resulted in us changing some of our plans as a result of those discussions with people like Alix, who's going to address you later today, with people like Lorraine Boorman from APITO. We listened and we changed our tack so that we can persuade you that we are operating as one team, offering assistance in a variety of ways. So what in particular has the government announced recently? Well, we have prioritised energy skills. We've ring-fenced 500 modern apprenticeship starts each year for the energy sector. And these are not the only modern apprenticeship starts, as there were 2,360 energy starts in 2012-13. That's 35% higher than 3 years ago. So we have upped our game to that extent. Over the same period, there has been a 54% increase in the number of starts purely in oil and gas. That's 54%. We're also supporting higher level skills. And last year, we provided £1.9 million to the Funding Council to support an additional 1,200 undergraduate places in science, engineering, technology, and mathematics. This was enhanced in February this year through the allocation of a further £30 million to support 850 additional postgraduate STEM places each year over the next 5 years. We recognise as a nation that we need to see more of our young people choosing the science topics and more young people wanting to choose the science topics. It was the poet William Butler Yeats who said that education should not be about filling a bucket, it should be about lighting a fire. And one of the challenges I passionately believe in, ladies and gentlemen, if we are to persuade the next generation of young people to choose this industry over others, is that we do need to inspire them. And my belief is that the best way that we can achieve that is by your reaching out to young people, by your working in schools, by your communicating to young people the tremendous opportunities, career options, and indeed rewards which can come through choosing the industry that you chose yourself. In other words, you are the best ambassadors for the industry, and you in industry are playing a part and perhaps can play even a bigger part in inspiring young people to join you in this industry. In 2012-13, we also launched the Energy Skills Challenge Fund. This was built on the best practice of a transitional training course developed for the oil and gas industry to support those leaving the RAF base at Kinloss. Last year, this delivered over 900 training places to upskill those with relevant transferable skills and experience to move into employment in the energy sector. I know from meetings with many of you here that transition training, conversion training, people who leave other industries wanting to join the oil and gas sector is and will be a key component of meeting the skills shortage. Recently, I've joined social media. Yes, a bit late, but you know, at the age of 55, you've got to start somewhere. If you can't beat them, join them. And as it happens, yesterday I got a tweet from somebody from Ayrshire, because I'm chairing a task force to try to preserve and see the coal sector in Scotland, the open cast sector, continue. We're going to succeed with that, incidentally. But this guy tweeted me yesterday to say, any chance of a job in the oil and gas sector? I've worked in the coal sector for 20 years. I'd like to try something different. At least that was the gist of the tweet. And I thought I'd pass that on to you, because there are many, many hundred guys who have good skills in the coal sector, some of whom may wish to try a career change. I've seen at the NIG Training Academy the extraordinary determination of those who choose that option, choosing a different career, moving into oil and gas, perhaps from automotive, perhaps from engineering, perhaps from a variety of different backgrounds. But I've been to Roy McGregor's training academy at NIG. I've never been to a place where I saw a degree, such a degree of enthusiasm and determination of the students, mostly, almost all mature students at the NIG Training Academy, determined to get skilled, to get on, to get into employment in a new career. That is something I believe that we all need to tap into, and the government, as I say, in our Energy Skills Challenge Fund will play a part there. But we recognise that much more needs to be done. In recognition of this, last September, we announced funding of just over £3 million to develop a Scottish Energy Skills Academy to help address industry skill needs. A key priority of this was to ensure that what was developed was going to work for industry, not add on additional layers of bureaucracy, as I have already referred to. And during the consultation and development, it became clear to us through Oil and Gas UK and APITO that there's a huge amount of work, and Alix will talk about many of the programs that Oil and Gas UK deliver going on to address the skills barrier. In direct response to these calls, an announcement was made in May by the First Minister that the budget for this additional effort had been doubled to £6.5 million. Now, this funding will be used to help address the skills shortages. This will not be delivered by a new quango. There will be one new employee, a senior director, currently being recruited, who will work directly with the industry to develop and deliver skills solutions now. The director will have a Scotland-wide remit, but will be located at Robert Gordon University and will work very much part of Team Scotland. An Energy Skills Gateway will also be developed to provide a one-stop shop approach for employers and individuals seeking support. This will not duplicate existing websites and activity, but will provide information and signposting to the wide range of support which is available. Skills Development Scotland will deliver at least 1,000 transitional training places during 2013-14, with a key focus being those industries experiencing significant skills gaps. And of course, oil and gas are at the front of the queue as far as that is concerned, although of course there is also grid transmission and distribution with a programme of £7,000 million pounds worth of work in strengthening the grid, authorised and going ahead, fast-tracked ahead of England. Now, this work by Energy Skills Scotland will, I believe, help to alleviate some of the impact of the current skills issues which face yourselves. But there is more to be done, and therefore, under the leadership of Frank Mitchell of Scottish Power, we are looking to see what more we can do, and I look forward to the question and answer session later on when we can receive your comments. I was delighted to meet Colonel Hugo Grant a moment or so ago, and it's no doubt that the Army, and indeed all of the military personnel who for one reason or another leave the Army and Air Force Defence, provide an excellent source of dedicated hard work, and this is something the industry very much appreciates, as I know. So I very much welcome his presence here today on the panel later on. I'm aware from meetings in Aberdeen that there is much pursuit of employees from one company to another in an attempt to fill skills gaps, whether it be project managers or other areas where there are shortage of experienced personnel. No government can magic up experienced personnel. That is not what we can do. We have to recognise that. But I see, especially when I visit SMEs, the smaller end of the sector, turning over 1 to 50 million or thereabouts, that many of their employees are enticed to perhaps some of the larger players in Aberdeen with higher wages, and wage inflation itself is, I'm told, from time to time becoming a challenge which is reducing profitability by an ever-increasing spiral of wage inflation. Indeed, somebody put it to me that there is more poaching going on in Aberdeen than ever went on in the West Highlands or Islands. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's certainly a problem that it's better to face up to and try and tackle together than just see a constant and never-ending competition of wage inflation. That can't be the best way ahead. Therefore, next month we will be announcing an energy task force for the north of Scotland, and myself and Sydney Johnson of AMEC and others in industry will be leading a focus to see what more other parts of the north of Scotland can do to take the heat out of the position in Aberdeen so far as that is concerned. And I think there are other opportunities in other parts of Scotland as well, which can be grasped to assist in tackling this issue, and in the northeast of England as well. We don't want England to be left out of anything particularly. So there are other approaches to this, and we need to be mindful of that, whilst recognising, of course, that Aberdeen is Europe's oil and gas capital and will remain so for another half-century, in my opinion. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to conclude by saying that I haven't touched on other issues today, such as Aberdeen infrastructure. There's a serious problem there. We're seeking to tackle it as best and as swiftly we can. I haven't tackled the issue of taxation. It is clear that predictability, certainty, and the avoidance of sudden shocks should be at the heart of government policy in this, and we'll be producing papers on this in due course. I haven't touched on the problem of ageing infrastructure, where around 85 billion of tax revenue, 5 billion barrels of oil are at risk unless this problem is tackled perhaps in new ways involving more collaboration, more application of technology and different solutions, as well as potentially increased tax relief in some instances. However, I wanted to finish by mentioning the issue that perhaps is paramount, namely that of health and safety, and it is my clear impression that this is taken more seriously than in Aberdeen and in this country than anywhere else in the world, and rightly so. Health and safety is the #1 priority for us all, and the UKCS has a world-class safety regime. Working together with UK ministers, I have been determined to resist the challenge that there should be an EU interference here with the application of a regulation. That was successfully fought off because it was unnecessary. It's unnecessary because of the high standards here. However, as Lord Cullen said to me when I met him a couple of months ago in the run-up to the Piper Alpha anniversary, said, we must not forget to be afraid. We are dealing with a highly dangerous and difficult industry where risk management is paramount and safety considerations must take precedence over all else. I had the pleasure of attending the film Fire in the Night, the premiere of the film last week in Edinburgh, and I have to say, no one who, and I believe it's been shown in Aberdeen subsequent to that, no one who has seen this film would be unscathed because of the deeply moving and indeed at times harrowing nature of the film. I hope that it will be seen by those who work offshore. I hope that you will agree that it would be sensible to ensure that this film is seen as a reminder to us all of what you are dealing with and of the paramount need to preserve human life above all else. And I'm persuaded that that is indeed what you do in relation to the handling of shutdowns, in relation to the handling of incidents over recent years, which has absolutely recognised that foremost priority. And this evening, the First Minister and myself will be attending an event at the Scottish Parliament to remember the sacrifice made by those in the industry, the 167 men that lost their lives because the standards, frankly, were not there at that particular time. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very pleased to address you here today and assure you of my full support for as long as I am Energy Minister. I've been Energy Minister now for 2 years, which you may say is quite a long time for someone to enjoy tenure as Energy Minister. I fully intend to carry on in that role and to do everything possible from the Scottish Government's point of view to help you in the ways that we can help you address the skills shortages and to work ever more closely with your representatives in Oil and Gas UK. Thank you very much indeed for listening to me this morning.